Greeting lecturers and classmates, we are from Group 3 and we have worked together to produce this video about the public bureaucracy between France and the United States. Without further ado, let's move to the explaining of what is bureaucracy. Bureaucracy refers to a rational, impersonal, rule-bound and hierarchical form of organizational and structure set up to perform large-scale administrative tasks. In France, one gateway to the bureaucracy is the École Nationale d'Administration, ENA, a state educational institution whose primary mission is to train civil servants. Indeed, the ENA and several other elite state institutions usually recruit the highest category of civil servants. This specialized training, combined with few barriers between civil service and politics, means that the links between the bureaucracy and elected office are strong and considered normal. For example, in the Fifth Republic, 4 presidents, 7 prime ministers and many civil servants have been graduates of the ENA. On the other hand, in the United States, bureaucrats are accountable to the executive branch. So bureaucrats must implement and administer a wide range of policies and programs as established by congressional acts or presidential orders, and they are subject to legislative regulations and procedural guidelines since they are appointed by the president. However, the public services implemented by the bureaucrats sometimes do not meet the interest of the people. What make it difficult for politicians and bureaucrats to give priority to people's interest? Politics and bureaucracy allow many more opportunities to get in touch with the government, but in some ways, it makes government all the more confusing and unapproachable. Yet democracy depends for its very livelihood on meaningful contacts between the people and the government.
Many citizens would assume that holding politicians accountable for their actions isn't too difficult in a representative democracy. But nowadays, the political process is often more catered to moneyed interests than the will of the people. People will in general put together their political convictions concerning their own conditions and interests, which are alluded to as material and ideal interests. While political culture fills in as a sort of guide for how individuals think and act. Since there is not only one person in politics, they have to work together to achieve something, while mostly it works because of the lobbyist. That is why it leads to inefficiency and inequality in their policy making, and it is hard for them to prioritize more on people's interests. As for France, bureaucracy plays a crucial role in organizing the major functions of the state, including economic affairs, defense, foreign relations, education, communication, transport, welfare, home affairs, and it tends to be stable thanks to its hierarchical structure. However, the very same structure is also the cause of the problem, as the system itself creates the castes which divides the workers into specific classes with privileges, and those workers were not allowed to do the thing that not belonged to their class even if they can do it, and that job was reserved for an employee dedicated to the task only. Moreover, many people's views on the whole government bureaucracies are no longer characterized by expertise and industriousness. They have become inefficient mazes of red tape that waste taxpayers' money, thwart accountability, and act against the public interest. The complexity of this system ensures that no one is held responsible when there is a problem. As agencies and administrators gain more control over property, prices, and choices, entrepreneurship becomes riskier, more costly, and more dependent on subsidies and collusion with bureaucrats, while consumers and citizens are faced with a jungle of regulations, leading to the gradual erosion of self-regulation. This not only breeds a social bias in favor of bureaucracy but also a bureaucratization of the mind.
While in the US, Americans rarely have anything good to say about bureaucracies. Bureaucratic regulations and rules are not very helpful when unexpected situations arise. One of bureaucracy's least appreciated features is its proneness to creating paper trails and piles of rules. Governmental bureaucracies are especially known for this. Critics of bureaucracy argue that mountains of paper and rules only slow an organization's capacity to achieve stated goals. While it also faces the same thing as French about the red tape since it costs taxpayers both time and money, it thwarts accountability and acts against the public interest.
Moving on to this part, we are going to explain about the difference of incentives between bureaucrats and politicians within both countries. First, we will begin with the bureaucrats inside the United States. In the US, the bureaucrats' do is to examine the actions of different governmental agencies. First, bureaucracy implements the laws and policies made by elected officials, then put into practice in specific situations and applied in all the contingencies of daily life. Second, the bureaucracy provides necessary administrative functions, like conducting examinations, issuing permits and licenses, and collecting fees, as well as handles the paperwork of everyday government operations. And last but not least, they regulates various government activities or creates the rules and regulations that clarify how various laws work on a daily basis. In addition, most people think that bureaucrats only follow orders, however they carry out the decisions that the president or members of Congress make, but the reality of their work is more complicated. The power of the bureaucracy depends on how much discretionary authority it is granted. And they do not simply administer policy, it also makes and judges it. Quasi-powers mimic the powers of the three branches of government that include quasi-legislative, quasi-executive, and quasi-judicial. Bureaucracies are complex institutions designed to accomplish specific tasks. This complexity, and the fact that they are organizations composed of human beings, can make it challenging for us to understand how bureaucracies work. Bureaucracies are naturally competitive and power-hungry. This means bureaucrats, especially at the highest levels, recognize that limited resources are available to feed bureaucracies, so they will work to enhance the status of their own bureaucracy to the detriment of others. This effort can sometimes take the form of merely emphasizing to Congress the value of their bureaucratic task, but it also means the bureaucracy will attempt to maximize its budget by depleting all its allotted resources each year. Moving to the politician, their function is to organize their daily responsibilities depending on the level of government they work with. A local politician will likely spend more time face-to-face with community members solving local issues than a national politician who spends time traveling to different states campaigning and meeting with community leaders. Politicians at any level will generally have a combination of the following duties and tasks. Includes: interact with constituents, listen to concerns about public issues, serve on committees, write laws, create and approve budgets, campaign for votes, and give speeches. Politicians will take responsibility for formulating, coordinating, and deciding upon policies. In keeping with the needs of the public grasped during the course of their duties, bureaucrats will assist politicians in formulating, coordinating, and deciding upon policies, such as through providing basic data and information for those policies, presenting multiple options. The United States is a representative democracy and the political system is dominated by political parties. With rare exceptions, elections are decided between the two major parties, Democrats and Republicans. The power of politician is limited to their ability to influence their supporters, both voters and professional political operatives' beliefs and actions. Now take a look inside France. Bureaucrats and politician relations are very correlation with each other, which is to enact and enforce strict rules that tightly compartmentalize people or functions. These rules are meant to avoid power struggles within a given organization. Classifications are made increasingly precise, formalizing these compartments within bureaucracy and society. Moreover, in France, their executive is much more stronger than any other country. The politician who train at INA, combined with few barriers between civil service and politics, means that the links between the bureaucracy and elected office are strong and considered normal. Therefore, politicians in France will be elected as a president, a member of the National Assembly by their people, and some were appointed to become the Prime Minister or the public bureaucrat by the President to govern in some different regions, departments, and communes. The working culture in France is generated by the President, and the National Assembly proposes the law, and after they pass the law, the bureaucrats implement the laws. Despite the difficulty of politicians and bureaucrats in prioritizing people's interests, let's get to know some solution on how to have effective and efficiency of public service delivery. But first, let's get to know what public service is. Public service refers to a service which is offered by the government to people through its administrative processes, either directly through the public sector or by financing provision of services in order to serve the interest of citizens. Some key public services are education, emergency services, healthcare, public safety, environmental protection, justice, transportation, infrastructure, urban planning, and social services. As a whole, the work performed by the state and the goods and services provided to fulfill the needs and wants of the public interest are public services. To make a more effective and efficient in public service delivery, first of all, is making good governance. In the realm of delivering state services to the public, good governance reforms advance human rights when they improve the state's capacity to fulfill its responsibility to provide public goods which are essential for the protection of a number of human rights, such as the right to education, health, and food. Reform initiatives may include mechanisms of accountability and transparency, culturally sensitive policy tools to ensure that services are accessible and acceptable to all, and paths for public participation in decision-making. Secondly, there should be civil service reform, which is a deliberate action to improve the efficiency, effectiveness, professionalism, representation and democratic character of a bureaucracy, with a view to promoting better delivery of public goods and services, with increased accountability. Such actions can include data gathering and analysis, organizational restructuring, improving human resource management and training, enhancing pay and benefits while ensuring sustainability under overall fiscal constraints, and strengthening measures for public participation, transparency, and combating corruption. Last but not least is the establishment of national ombudsmen, which refer to the institution for assessing complaints about all aspects of public administration, defends the interests of the citizen, and monitors the quality of public services. Ombudsman shows an effective action due to the reason that they can materially improve citizen satisfaction with the workings of the government, and, in the process, increase the disposition toward voluntary compliance and cooperation with the government, reduce the occasions for litigation, and provide agency decision-makers with the information needed to identify and treat problems.
Due to the current problem of the implementation of public bureaucracy in France and the United States, we would like to propose one recommendation for both countries to implement, which is to suggest France and the US to adopt the permanent administrator, because in both countries, the bureaucrats were appointed by the president, so it caused the political bias. So why adopt permanent administrator? We believe that the bureaucrats who serve the people and country should be politically neutral or not involved in politics. So here's our reasons. First of all, by not involving with politics, it causes less government spending, because in France over half the population either works for or has a parent, child, or spouse who works for the public sector, so it costs of wages and benefits spending on civil servants on their retirement. In addition, it also helped to lessen political impact on work of bureaucrats, because in the United States the president always clear out the very top layers of departments when a new government is elected, and appoint their own people, so it seems like they are using the public office to gain their political interest. So, adopting permanent administrator will help to avoid those impacts.